Man, honored to be here with you all, and I do appreciate the time of day that we're at right now and where we're at in this event. Like, we've gone a long way in 2 days. Would you not agree with me? And I understand how drained we get emotionally going through these things. So I'm not going to ask you to jump around like chickens right now, but I would ask for your attention for the next half an hour or so. We're going to go through a lot of stuff really, really quick. We're going to have a very humanistic conversation around AI, a very contrarian viewpoint, and it might go over, no lie, like bringing hot dogs to a vegan cocktail party, and that might be true, but it's stuff you gotta hear, okay? It's gonna be a little different than what you're normally used to. I spend most of my time every single day focusing on human behavior and enhancing human performance. Today we're gonna bring a little of that into this conversation of artificial intelligence, and here's the name of what we're talking about, the intersection between humans and artificial intelligence. How do we manage that relationship? Some statistics were shared earlier, I think yesterday. It said something along the lines about 50% of the people out there have not even tried AI yet. Now we're sitting in here, we're immersed in it, and it's hard for us to conceive that there's 50% of the people in the US haven't even tried it yet, and only 1 in 5 uses it at least once a day daily. What happens to you when that 1 in 5 who use it daily turns to 2 in 5, and then 3 in 5, and then 4 in 5? How do you stay relative? What separates you from them, especially if we're all using the same AI tools? And it's something we got to start thinking about because it's happening. How quickly you think that's going to happen? I was just having a conversation in the back there saying, you know what? This event come springtime is not going to look anything like it is right now. It's going to happen that fast. The advantage that you have is that you're here now and you can start doing things now that other people after us won't be able to do. But there's a couple pieces that got to fall into place here, right? I do see a challenge when everybody's given all of the same tools, like what makes us different? I want to share a little video with you. Have you, raise your hand if you have kids, if you have parents. Well, shit, we all got parents. If you got kids, okay, good. Any of you ever watch a cute little kids video where they had supers in, Mr. Incredible, the family of the Incredibles are dressed in red or pink, right? Well, there's a very special moment in this kid's video. Let me ask you, anybody ever watch it alone as an adult? Or is that just too much information? Yeah, been there, right? There's a very special moment in here that applies very much to where we are. Can we roll that video?
Unique design suggests
there were no fatalities.
Huh?
He's the villain.
Come on! You gotta admit this is cool. Just like a movie. The robot will emerge dramatically, do some damage, throw in some screaming people, and just when all hope is lost, Syndrome will save the day! I'll be a bigger hero than you ever were.
You mean you killed off real heroes so that you could pretend to be one?
Oh, I'm real. Real enough to defeat you! And I did it without your precious gifts, your oh-so-special powers. I'll give them heroics. I'll give them the most spectacular heroics anyone's ever seen! And when I'm old and I've had my fun, I'll sell my inventions so that everyone can be superheroes. Everyone can be super! And when everyone's super, no one will be.
That's what we're up against. In that clip or that part of the movie, Syndrome, the villain, couldn't defeat the supers. So he created his own superpowers to try to defeat them, and he couldn't beat them. And he finally figured out that, man, if I can't beat them, I'll neutralize everyone. And then they'll, by default, no longer have superpowers. That's where we're at. Because the tools that we see today, which are 1,000 times better than they were even 3 months ago, are going to be 1,000 times better 3 months from now and on. How do we stay relevant? That's kind of what this conversation is about. When machines start doing the thinking for us, 3 inevitable outcomes. We dumb down, we create threats as we lose skills, and we grow soft. Creativity slows, and we lose the inspiration for excellence. And these are 3 different inevitable outcomes that are so predictable in human behavior. How do we dumb down? As we stop using parts of our brain to create and to think and to explore, those parts of our brain begin to go dormant. And the more dormant they become, the less we use them as we rely more and more on this artificial intelligence to do the thinking for us. But artificial intelligence pulls from a massive pool of information that everybody has access to. So the more we stop doing it ourselves, the more like everyone else we become. And yeah, it dumbs us down. We have a hard time doing math. So how many people went out to dinner last night and needed a damn calculator to figure out your tip? That's a true story. You don't raise your hand because that's kind of embarrassing, right? You ever go to a cash register or a register, you hand them cash, and the person behind the counter can't figure out how to give you change on a $10 bill for the $3.85 cup of coffee. They're banging on the computer again to figure it out. Why? Because they replaced part of their thinking with technology. And we've got to be uber aware of that because it's very predictable. And we are also, as humans, predisposed to taking an easy path. We look for shortcuts, and there's good and bad in that. But with AI, which is beyond our capacity, let's appreciate this. We can all make future predictions about how all this is going to go. And can we at least agree we have no real idea? We're just making that shit up, right? So we're coming up with future events that we'd like to see happen in AI, but we don't know for a fact at all. We have nothing to base it on. We've never seen a transformation like this ever in the history of ever has this happened. And here we are diving full in, submitting to it. And if we take nothing away from this conversation today, I would just take away the caution that every single time a technology has ever been created in all of history, it has created an equal or greater risk in proportion to the simplicity or the ease or the size of the problem that it's solving. Does that make sense what I'm saying right there? Right? How many of you still know how to use a damn map, honestly? Or is it only your phone that gets you to and from? Raise your hand. Good girl. Many of you don't. And I'm not judging, all right? My wife can't get around by a map. Don't say that and don't tell her I said that, okay? But it's a true story, right? So these things are inevitable unless we guard ourselves against them, right? And we do grow soft. Do you know, if you look at why we have AI, it's to solve problems, it's to reduce friction in our lives, right? It's in friction that we grow. And if we figure out a way to use AI to solve all of our problems, where does the growing happen? It doesn't. It stops. And we're predisposed to taking those shortcuts. Why? We want to stay out in front of everybody else. We want to be the first, the better, the faster, greater than everyone else. So yeah, we're going to do it. Look at how we have countries racing in this game with no blinders on. They're just all in, knowing that the inevitable is likely going to happen. But somebody's got to get there first. We can only imagine what the inevitable looks like, right? AI isn't a tool anymore. It's a companion to us, right? It thinks like us, right? Talks, starts to feel like us, or does it? So a young lady reached out to me the other night, and because she's in a women's group that we run, and there's a custom GPT that just sounds like me and thinks like me. It's all my stuff poured into it, right? It's kind of an ass, to be honest with you. But that's by design, right? Yeah, ask my wife again. Yeah, she'll tell you. So she goes, hey, Pat, the most fantastic thing happened. I had this family challenge, this problem, and I felt this way about it. And I wasn't even certain like how I should be feeling because my family members were telling me I was way out of line and wrong. So I asked your GTP, said, hey, am I feeling the right way? Is it okay to feel like this? Anybody see the problem there? Chat GPT does not feel. It feels nothing. It's not human. It doesn't have a conscience. And the moment we start using it to determine how we should feel, we start driving the train off the tracks. And once it starts going, it's going to get very, very difficult to get back. Connections have never been higher, but authenticity has never been lower. Think of it in terms of it's very easy to be connected to everything and all the time right now. But are we really real in those connections? How many of you believe that everything you see on Instagram, that's just the way these people live, right? Yeah, that's fantastic. Their life is just wonderful. How many of you know, in reality, of particularly being an entrepreneur, that about 90% of our stuff day to day is a train wreck and about 10% of it is amazingly awesome, right? That's our life as an entrepreneur. But what we see out there, the connected part, doesn't show the train wreck. It's only about the awesome side of it, right? You know what's funny about this little monitor up here? I can't read it. So I'm seeing the titles and kind of just going with it, yeah. So here's just some of the losses, right? Cognitive atrophy. We have these neurons in our brain that connect through these synapses to one another, and that's how our brain works, and they use this electrochemical neurotransmitters that bind together and allow messages to go from one another, from one to the other. And the more we use them, it's like a bridge that's built. The more we use them, the bridge gets stronger, wider, taller. It can handle more traffic. We get smarter. We think faster. But the less we use them, you get this synaptic pruning that takes place. They start dwindling away. The brain is very efficient on the way it uses electricity, and if something's not being used, it will delete it out of the system. And before long, we've lost the ability to process the way we used to, and that one thing that we used to do so well. And this is inevitable. It's not a maybe or a possible, right? Humans are predisposed to taking shortcuts, the vanity of being out in front of everybody else first, the fears of falling behind. We're being sucked in. We're being almost baited in to these outcomes that are coming our way. Less confident. How could confidence come into this? If you don't create something, if it's not yours, if it didn't come from your God-given innate skills and talents, it's impossible to truly own it. When you don't own it, you're not confident in repeating it, representing it, being it. And the less we create on our own that we can say, yeah, that's me, the less confident we'll be around those same subjects and topics, right? Less mentally tough. This is a big one, right? Mental toughness comes from dealing with hard things on a regular basis. And as we use AI to strip away hard, which is pretty much what we're doing, solving problems, right? It weakens our minds. And there will become a time that we're stuck with a whole bunch of soft people. Now, go a step further, right? What happens if one day, look at the exposure your cell phone has created in your lives. What would happen if you lost your cell phone right now? How the hell would you get it? How would you get an Uber to get to the airport? Never mind figure out when your flight was, right? We'd be out of luck. Our dependency on our cell phone is pretty intense. Picture dependency on AI 1,000 times greater, because we're going to start turning over our cognitive capacity over to it voluntarily. It's not taking it from us. We're going to volunteer for this process here, right? And then increase conflict avoidance. Well, when we're mentally weak, the last thing we're going to want to do is deal with conflict. So we're going to avoid tough discussions. And of course, that's where people grow as well, having hard discussions. Anybody ever put off a hard discussion? They had to have it. You put it off. What happens to that problem? Does it go away? Oh, it grows. And it'll grow. It's not that you can avoid it, but it will show up at some point, and it'll be 1,000 times bigger than it ever was, and you'll be 1,000 times less capable of dealing with it when it does show up. Convenience becomes a crutch becomes a cage. Every leap in convenience becomes a crutch. Every crutch leaned on long enough becomes a cage, and our cell phones are a perfect example. We can't separate ourselves from our cell phones right now. So the thinking trap goes like this. The danger isn't that AI replaces us, it's that we are willingly replacing ourselves. When we stop struggling, we stop growing. Many of us have kids, and we try to do best by our kids, and we try to remove the struggles that we had to go through for our kids. You ever stop and think about what we're actually doing to our kids in doing that? We're depriving them from the same learning experiences that we got to go through. Everything we go through in life, every single thing, particularly the hardest, the most difficult things we go through, are the necessary training for who we are to become next. And when we start stripping that out, that's not preparing us any longer to become that person. Go to the simple model of be, do, have, right? In order to have something. Can we agree that everybody here wants something you don't currently have? Is that a fair statement? Of course, right? So in order to have something we don't currently have, we got to become someone who can do the work to have that thing. In order to have it, you got to do it. In order to do it, you got to first become that person. And the becoming is the struggle, the challenges, the frictions that we face in life. And right now we're racing to remove all of that. Do you see where this is going to leave us at the end of this journey? And we got to keep a mental note with our kids, same thing. At least we have a baseline of wisdom, life experiences up till now that we can bounce some of this stuff off of. Our kids don't. And if we expose them to AI and just let them run free with it, they don't have a counterweight. They don't have another side to their pendulum to balance any of this too. And they too want to go first and get there first. And they want to be that person that's on top, right? So they will be sucked in no different than you and I are. And this is not an anti-AI conversation. It's a contrarian viewpoint. And I'm going to get to the part of this where, yeah, we can work together, okay? Skills we trade for convenience, math, maps, memory, and phone numbers. How many of you remember a phone number from childhood? Maybe the house you grew up with that damn rotary phone. You know, that's the right reason we remember it, because it went right? And it took us 10 minutes just to dial off the phone, right? Yet you don't know your kid's numbers or your husband's number or your best friend's number now, but you know from that number from 35 years ago. It's kind of crazy, right? Maps, memory, phone number, spelling. I could never spell. Writing it with care. Writing with care is a big one. And again, I don't want to get deep in this conversation, right? But there's a way to keep your writing authentic. And Francis does a great job explaining that. He doesn't just say, hey, I write all my stuff for me. He says, this is who I am. This is how I write. Here's all my content. I need you to look at this and mirror what I already do. I don't want you to do it on your own. I need you to do what I do. Just do it in mass. AI's got to be an amplifier, not a replacement, right? Deep thinking, right? So deep thinking comes from creativity side of us and problem solving. Both of them require deep thinking. And if we substitute AI for both of those, there's no opportunities left here, right? The entrepreneurial edge, and this is the part that we got to embrace, right? The muscle that built your business was your mind. Friction forged that creativity. That's what we're rooted in here. Remove friction, and all that growth stops. You couldn't do again what you did if we remove the friction from our lives. We have to stop looking at problems as problems. We got to look at them as opportunities to move us forward and stay unique and different and authentic. When we stop forming opinions and instead recycle all generated ones, innovation stops and our souls shrink. The part that AI, I don't believe, will ever be able to capture are our souls, the intangibles that we know exist, our consciousness. We know it's there. We can't define it exactly, but it drives our behavior. It drives our thinking. It's the essence of who we are. Comfort crisis. AI makes everything frictionless. Frictionless feels efficient, but kills innovation and breeds mediocrity. We fall complacent. The next frontier is not smarter machines, it's softer humans. Just think about that for a sec. If Elon Musk was on, I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast, and talked about how he thinks that we're going to have so much money going forward that money will never be an issue for anybody ever again. Well, if money was not an issue, what the hell would be the driver? If you had all the money in the world and could spend it any way you wanted, what would keep you sharp? What would drive you to become more on a daily basis, to do hard things, to expand yourself? What would drive you to turn your potential into performance if you never had to earn money ever again in your lives? So I see that as a problem in and of itself, right? He thinks it's some glorious bliss event that's going to happen, and I see it rotting society just because of how humans behave, right? The whisper. Soon AI will whisper what to say, what to sell, and how to feel, even though it can't feel. All it can do is regurgitate what humans have poured into it, but it can't feel us. It can't feel itself. There's no feeling involved. And it'll be good. We'll forget our own voice, no longer the curator of thought. You know, what Pat Hilton was referencing about authenticity, I look at AI as becoming a great revealer, kind of like money, kind of like beer, right? Well, it's true, right? If you're like a happy-go-lucky kind of person and you drink a lot of beer, you may become obnoxious, but you're happy and go-lucky. But if you're an absolute asshole, you'll be a drunk asshole when you get there, right? It just strips down things. And money does the same thing. Money doesn't make anybody into anything. It allows them to magnify who they already are. And AI is going to work a little that way too, provided we give it the opportunity to know who we are. And that's the part we got to be careful with here, right? The more AI reflects our preferences, the more it traps us in feedback loops, and that is reference to logarithms on social media and in other areas of life. Like when we go on social media, rarely do we look for something specific. We just sit there and scroll through shit that's placed right in front of us, and we just accept it. And sometimes it gets narrowed down, but we just keep accepting the same stuff that's served up to us. We don't go looking specifically for different curators of new content and information and things we want to learn about. We just accept what's given to us, right? The reality blur. AR, VR, Neuralinks. Neuralinks are going to be a problem. Think about this for a second. Somebody shows up one day and says, hey, I got something for you. I'm going to put this tiny little chip in here, and you're going to be the smartest son of a bitch on the block. You'll know everything automatically. I'll even put glasses on you and all this other kind of stuff, and you're just going to be the coolest cat. You won't have to study or go to work or anything like that because you'll know it all automatically. Are you in? Oh, by the way, if you don't, I'm going to give it to him because he wants it too. How many people do you think are going to turn that down, honestly? Honestly. And then what? Now we're tapped into it. Now we're relying on it so much more readily all the time, constantly shutting down, going through that synapsis pruning in our brain, shutting down those neural pathways between those the thought processes, and we become dumber at an extraordinary rate. What happens in one day if somebody wakes up and says, you didn't pay your bills, click. It sounds funny. Oh, yeah. Well, look what's happening with the shutdown with the government right now and government-provided services that are not being provided. How many of you are worried about flying out of this place, right? Oh, it could be an issue. Why? Because the government shut some shit down. Why would we think for a second this would be any different? But it's going to be too late at that point for us. AI can't replace logic, data. It can replace logic, data, even style, but it can't replace your soul. You've got to remain who you are. This is how you're going to stay relative even a year from now when 4 out of 5 people are using this on the daily basis. The level playing field. Can't read that one. When everyone has the same AI, the playing field's level. The only thing that separates is us. AI can replace, replicate logic and style, but not soul. Your story, your scars, your truth are uncopyable. Copyable. I don't know if that's a word, but I put it in there. In a world of infinite intelligence, your humanity becomes your last unfair advantage. And that's the part we got to remember here. Because there's going to be a next generation of people that do not have the life wisdom that you have, the life experiences that you have. Yeah, we've all gone through shit in our lives. You know what? That's made you who you are today, and that's amazing. Those scars are brilliant. You don't want to give that stuff up. That is tomorrow's paycheck. Pat said it, man, if you can't get up and talk as you present yourself in the artificial world, you're going to have no credibility. There's going to be nothing there for you. So converting from threat to tool. AI isn't the enemy, it's the amplifier. It magnifies what we already do. You best know who you are, get clear. This is the important part of this right here. Confusion in, chaos out. Don't just dump shit into this because it's going to come out a mess. And the more you put into it now, the more defined what it thinks you are. Get clear on who you are, what you represent, what you stand for, your core values, your ethics, morality. Let it know now so it can speak on your behalf and magnify and amplify who you are and not just put out a mess. For a lot of people, that's how it's going to end up. The creative class. AI gives everyone intelligence. Creativity turns intelligence into innovation. Imagination will be the scarcity. It will be the defining moment, the thing that separates those who now only know easy. They can't deep think anymore. They don't create on their own anymore. These are the same people, and it's not a judgment statement, but these are the same people who wake up and every day have to seek external motivation just to do their thing. There's no internal inspiration any longer because they're no longer connected the dots between what they do every day and the real things they want, the outcomes, the desires, their dreams in their lives. Does that make sense? When there's a connection between what we do, even if you don't like what you do, if you love what you do does for you, You will be inspired to do the hard thing. And when that is breached, every day is a fight to do the hard thing. It's not easy. That clock went really fast right there. I'm not going to lie. Did other people have more time or something? Like, redefining productivity. AI saves time, but so here's an interesting point. As you find more efficiencies through AI, solve more problems, do all of these marketing things automated for you, what are you going to do with the extra time? And if the answer is, well, nothing, because my job's done. So I'm just going to go back to scrolling and doing dumb stuff to fill my day, right? That's where complacency sets in. And that's the other risk here. There will be a group of humans that recognize the risk and say, no, that's where we're going to push ourselves. That's where we're going to intentionally go out and find really hard things to do that scare the crap out of us and push new boundaries that we never thought we were capable of before. That's what we're going to do in that time. But again, human disposition, somewhat lazy. As long as this is working and I'm making money, why do I have to work anymore? Why do I have to do anything hard anymore? Because we have this like false belief that the goal in life is to make things easier for ourselves, and that's just not true. Yes, we don't want to fight a fight every day, right? But no, every day can't be easy for us. Mastering yourself. Before mastering AI, master you. Discipline and clarity determine the outcome. Guardrails in your code. AI follows identity. So guardrails in your code. This is very important. A code is a personal constitution. It's a series of commitments that are non-negotiable in your life. They're created in an sane environment, meaning a non-emotionally charged environment. So that when you're in a emotionally charged environment, anybody ever get emotionally charged ever all the time? It's human, and there's nothing wrong with emotions, right? But when we're in an emotionally charged environment, as emotions go up, our intelligence goes down. We don't make smart decisions. We actually make pretty poor decisions. And that's just a relationship between the two, right? When you create a code, you make decisions before you're in that environment. So you don't have to think about it. You don't waste any time. Say, right now is a train wreck, but I've already made the decision, so let's just move on from here. That's part of this process. That thing, this big red thing just came up. You don't see it. It says, time's up. I need a couple more minutes, guys. I'm almost done. Authentic intelligence. Emotional intelligence defines leadership. AI can fake empathy, but it can't feel it. Real leadership requires heart. AI can't feel you. So the empathy is fake. Leadership is anchored in empathy. You can't lead through AI. You can only lead through you. Does that make sense when I say that to you guys? And you'll watch leaders rise up in these next few months and probably a year or two that get this point right here because they remain true to who they are. Human and machines are limitless. This is where we start coming together. Don't compete with AI, collaborate. The elephant and the rider. So picture a big giant elephant, strong, powerful, can move mountains, right? But it's not that smart. It's very emotionally triggered. Throw a mouse in front of it and the thing loses its mind. That's AI. You're the rider. You're the thinker. When you put together the thinker and the elephant, you can do magnificent things, powerful things, controlled things under your direction. But don't ever let that elephant think on its own. The awakening. In a world where machines can think, only the authentic will matter. Leave a human fingerprint on anything. AI will shape the world. Your authenticity will shape your legacy. It's time we be you. If AI becomes a mind, humans become the operators, the labor, and not the creators. And at that point, we will lose humanity. And that is the end of my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the AI for Business podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe and pass it along to a friend or colleague. We appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you in the next one.